Hello. Hi, Regina. I am 48 minutes into your podcast episode. I have 18 more minutes to go through on editing, and then it's done. This is the closest I've ever been to editing a podcast to when it's supposed to be coming out. But yeah, it was a great conversation, as you probably remember, and I'm very excited for people to hear it tomorrow. I will be having at least one co-host tonight. Some said that they might come in a bit later. Some people weren't sure if they would come at all, but we shall see. And no, not an audiobook. Kelly and I interviewed Regina for the Writish podcast, and her episode drops tomorrow, and I am 18 minutes away from being done with editing it. Yeah. So what are people working on tonight? I was hoping to do some revising, which is my nano thing, but I need to finish reading a manuscript so I can talk about it with my boss tomorrow. So I have a lot of reading left to do on it, just because it's a very hard manuscript to get through. So yeah, I'm on page 97 of 311. Yeah. The horror novel, yes. Regina, you do not talk too much. No, it was good. It is good. It's just, it's when I try to edit out as many as possible, and then sometimes, because there is a little bit of delay normally between, it always seems like there's a delay between Kelly and the guest. Sometimes there's a delay between me and Kelly, but normally it's like between Kelly and the guest, so that then there's like a little overlap and interruption with each other. So then I have to edit those out whenever it's like you both start talking at the same time and you're both like, oh, go ahead. It's like, change that around so that it doesn't sound like that in the final version. That's cool, Sam. Yeah, good grief is right, Regina. That is absolutely accurate. At some point, I should also order dinner because my fridge is, I'm still trying to figure out if my fridge is working or not. So I haven't bought food that I can make for dinner, but I did get some cold cuts that I have brought to work for lunch and things like that. And I'm hoping that it's okay. So yeah. I'm going to set up a forest room if you would like to enter it. 25 minutes. I hope to finish editing the podcast within this one sprint, but I am going to be doing this stream for about 3 hours. So we'll see. But, once I finish the podcast episode, the rest is just work reading for me, which kind of sucks, but I do get paid overtime, so it could be a lot worse. The forest room code is... Oop, one of my co-hosts appeared. Hi. Do you want to give a short introduction of who you are?
Hi, I am Amara Franklin, and I am a author tuber here. Well, I make YouTube videos, sometimes about books, sometimes writing, sometimes just random.
I call that being an author tuber.
Yeah, so I'm an author
I
tuber.
sometimes make videos about musical theater, but I'm still an author tuber.
Yeah. And I'm just kind of getting back into it after a little bit of a break. So I'm excited to be streaming with you today because I have not actually worked on my book at all this year.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I feel like it's always nice to get back to a project.
It is. I'm really excited about getting into it. I'm going to warn everybody in advance. It's kind of the time where my kids are supposed to be winding down. They have ignored me for the last hour, not talked to me, not come into my room, nothing. And then the second they know it's 5 o'clock, I think that I've been interrupted 8 times in 6 minutes. So
children.
There will be a lot of muting my screen and hopefully remembering to mute my mic before Demon Mom comes out.
It is what it is. I had the code typed and then I forgot to put it up. So the code is 4 November Whiskey Mike Romeo Yankee Tango Sierra Golf. If you would like to enter the room.
I'm trying to find the app on here again.
Regina's asking if that's dog behind you.
Yes, this is Frankie Pants. He is currently eating the leg of a giraffe. Whereas usually that tells me that he doesn't know where the monkey is because usually he just basically sucks on the head of a monkey. He doesn't chew it. He doesn't carry around. He just literally just sticks the head in his mouth and just, does that.
It's like a pacifier.
Basically. And it's the cutest thing. He'll get up on my pillows and he fluffs his little paws, and he just moves them back and forth until he's good and comfortable. Then he just shoves his head on the monkey and then he closes his eyes. And I'm okay, well, Frankie Pants is in his don't mess with me zone. So
that's so funny.
Oh, yeah,
Riley doesn't just suck on things. She'll chew. She'll chew a corner. So my mom had this set of bath towels and Riley chewed one of them to hell. So we're okay, the rest of them in that set, I guess, are just Riley's now. And then my mom got herself a new set. And, but then whenever there's a toy, Riley will try and chew it until she can't anymore. So she's a chewer. She doesn't just...
Well, I've been having this issue with Frank. Whenever anybody comes into the home, he decides he wants to, jump on their leg and do what dogs do. And to the point where it's it's not just a little okay, dogs do this, but to the point where it's a problem. And I had a friend staying with us for a few days and it was just such a consistent issue. And then I found the monkey and I was oh my God, I found this monkey. And it went from about 80% of the day, Frank was trying to be inappropriate to about 30 to 40% of the day, he was trying to be inappropriate. So,
distraction.
I definitely think I need to be calling some vets though, because it's morning to night. He's got one thing on his gross little dog mind. So,
for the first sprint, I'd like to put up a URL for you. Is your book box back or?
Not yet. I'm making some changes to it. So maybe just do my channel.
Okay.
If you have whatever. Instagram.
Are you entering the forest room?
I'm trying to find it on my phone because I know I had it, but I had to get a new phone and I don't know if the app's on here, so I might have to re-download it.
Okay, then I'm going to start this sprint, and for the next time...
Yeah, I'll pop in there.
Yes, just because they started kicking us out of rooms again if you take too long.
Oh, shoot. Okay, yeah. So don't wait on me. Don't wait on me for basically anything. So,
so we are going to start in 3, 2, 1. Happy productivity, everyone. how did everyone do?
Well, it depends on what we're looking for. In terms of actual productivity, I did horrible. In terms of not crying and like breaking my new printer, I did fantastic because I did not cry or break the printer. So, depends.
Sometimes that's you just got to take the win. Even if it's not what you planned and it's not what you hoped for, just take the win.
Just take it. Yeah. We're just going to roll with it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I did pretty good. I finished my dinner, which was yay, because I had a really hard time getting this specific dinner, but I really, 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 really wanted this specific dinner. So that was a win.
Good.
And I am cracking the textbook for my art class that I really just don't care about at all. Like, at all.
Why do you have to read it?
It's an online class.
But like, do you have homework due for it, or can you skip doing it?
I have
tonight?
like 5 assignments due by the 10th, and I.
Oh, okay. So like, you actually have to do it.
Yeah, I do. Like, my bad. Oh, and I fed the cat, so that was good.
That's good. Do you want to do an introduction?
Oh, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Candra Arthur. I have an AuthorTube channel here on YouTube. I write science fiction, historical fiction, and fantasy when I'm not suffering through art class. Ooh, I also make videos about reading, writing, all things books, and this is the cat that just got fed. As you can see, any less needy. He's very, very loud, and he's just mostly enjoying harassing me. So, yeah, go chase the bug. Go chase the bug.
I was just trying to figure out why my dog was barking all of a sudden. I'm pretty sure he was just barking at your cat. I'm like, would you be quiet? Oh, wait, hold up. I think I understand what's going on here.
Oh, but he's so cute.
He is so cute. Except for the fact that he literally just the other day, he likes to like jump inside the covers when I'm sleeping. I say, no, sleep over here. Here's your little dog bed. And then as soon as I close my eyes, it's like, nope, I'm in the bed and under the covers. And I woke up the other day and I realized, why do I have no covers? This tiny thing that is smaller than I'm pretty sure your cat has now just like curled himself in and then like rolled around so many times. He has taken my my blankets off of me. I'm like, really? Like
they
my
get
dog
away
does
with
that
so
too.
much.
They do. Well, so my dog is not allowed on the bed or on the couch without an invitation. And she does pretty good with that. And it's a good thing because otherwise she will do the same thing. Either on the covers or like laying in a spot to where I can't move or I have no covers. And then she's a blanket thief. She is.
I used to be a blanket thief when I was like a little kid and like slept in my mom's bed when I had nightmares and stuff. I don't do that anymore. Riley doesn't care about blankets, but she'll start at the foot of the bed or like next to your leg. So maybe not right at the foot of the bed or whatever. But she's not on the pillows. You wake up, she's on the pillows, either sleeping completely on the pillow like it's her own bed or leaning with her head on it and sideways as if she's a human.
So Piper's good about not taking the, like, getting up on the pillow. She always stays, like, on the side. But that's why I have to sleep with my door closed because Dobby has no chill and he likes to sleep, like, right here. And I'm allergic to cats. So, first of all, that's bad.
So, of course, you have a cat.
Yeah, I'm allergic to cats and dogs, but I'm also allergic to like trees, pollen, grass, and just generally existing. So, you know, if I'm gonna have to take allergy medicine all the time, I might as well have a cat and a dog too. But
yeah, my ex-husband was allergic to cats mostly a little bit. Like I think he was allergic to both cats and dogs, but cat hair was like worse for him. And we had a cat, and not only did we have a cat, but we had one of those cats that hates all living, breathing beings except for him. And she would literally just like basically like jump and practically sleep and lay on his face. And then he'd be like, why am I so sick? Why is my nose hurt? Well, maybe because you just let a cat like sit on your face for 6 hours. Like,
yeah, it's a real life problem. And the allergist was like, you cannot have the cat in the room while you're sleeping if he's going to sleep on your face. So he doesn't. But it's also a good thing because he wakes up, of course, at 3 a.m. and, you know, starts to have some zoomies. And so it's just all around, it's much better for everybody if he's not in my room when I go to sleep.
I got so close to finishing editing the interview that Kelly and I did of Regina because it's coming out tomorrow on the podcast. I am 6 minutes away from being done. I was like, can I do it? Can I do it? And I was like, nah. My goal was to finish it during that sprint, but I was like, I don't think that's possible. But I'm so close. So
is it a prank?
be gone, child.
I'm going to set the next 4 stream code so we can start the next sprint so I can eat my dinner, which arrived right as Chandra was giving her intro.
Yay for dinner.
What was your dinner?
I got spicy crab noodles and KFC, which is Japanese fried chicken.
Ooh.
They got this special breading and it's so good. I haven't had it in like 2 years, like since the pan pizza started. So
pan pizza, the deep dish pizza.
Yes. I was like, I need it specifically. So
okay, the code is 54 X-ray Echo 2
That sounds delicious, by the way.
Juliet Romeo Sierra Golf. Amari, you're cracking me up.
is there is that the correct code?
Did I type it in wrong? Why did I type a 5 before it? I don't know what happened.
For
It
the
just starts with
my
the 4.
son who knows he's not supposed to be in here.
4
Has asked me if you guys are my high school teachers. So apparently I'm back in high school. He needs to leave the live stream. And you guys are apparently my teachers.
Love it.
Are you back in?
I'm pretty much the oldest high school student in the world, but there we go. Yeah, I'm in high school.
Does that work now, Chandra?
Yes, that was it. It was the 5.
Okay, because I don't know how that happened. You know what? I was using my left hand to type it on my.
Well, I'm dyslexic too, so I was like re-looking at it. I was like, did I? Could be me. I could do that.
Okay, we're gonna start in 3. Ooh, come on, there we go. In 3, 2, 1. Happy productivity. I forgot to have this banner running throughout the whole sprint. So after this stream ends, I will be updating the description to include links for my co-hosts. But how did you both do?
Same as last time, only I made the kids dinner. My printer is just, I don't know what's wrong with it. I love this printer. I had one before we moved. And then my kids, they watch too much YouTube, like tech videos, and then think that they can just go in and fix everything. So I was like, why isn't my printer working? And I opened it up. This is the old one. And they had cut the like little ribbon thingy. Yeah. So, okay, that's useless. And I'm like, I could probably like figure out how to like repair it. But it wasn't an expensive printer. So I was like, okay, I found the same exact one on sale. So I was like, I'll just buy it again. And now it says it can't connect. Okay. It says it's not connecting to the internet, but then it also says it's connected to the internet. So how is it not connected and connected? So like it's connected, but yet every time I try to print, all I want to do is print the sheet of the beat sheet so I can write them out again. And every time I try to print anything, it's like, oh, we can't connect to the internet. But this one's like, oh, but we are connected. So I'm just...
For stuff like that, I mean, don't do this right now because we don't want to lose you. But but typically, if you restart the device as well as the router or modem at the same time and leave them off for about 2 minutes, that's
probably what I'll have to do But I'm not going to do that now because you'll lose me.
Exactly.
Give up and just continue the one. I was troubleshooting and I was also going through like. I haven't worked on my project in so long, just kind of rereading the stuff that I did the last time I did actually like do some work on it and trying to remember where I was. So I think I'll just focus on that unless wanting to find something really heavy and bash the printer.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe focus on the non-destructive thing.
I mean, the destructive thing would be more fun. But I think the non-destructive thing would be more productive.
I think you'd have more regrets after the destructive thing.
Yeah, especially because it's probably, like she said, a very easy thing to fix. So
it'd be like that sometimes. And also, I feel like restarting all your tech that's not really that easy. It's like the worst possible scenario in my personal opinion. I got a lot done. I'm having to evaluate these art pieces, and this one, it's called A Cityscape by Joan Mitchell, and it looks like a small child got into a painting that had been started, and they're just like putting down some shading to get out the lines, and then like a small child got into mommy's watercolors. And it's called City Landscape, and I have to hold on, let me see what it says. Discuss this example of non-objective art in terms of its content.
Non-objective.
What content? I don't see anything.
It's called City Land. I want to look at it. So it's called City Landscape, and who is the artist?
Joan Mitchell. It's 1995. You're gonna pull it up and you're gonna be like,
1955.
Yes, 1955. Yeah, you're probably gonna pull it up and be like, that can't be right. That's not a city landscape. But
I found it.
Why do I feel like Joan Mitchell is like the name of like a musician? Am I crazy?
Joni Mitchell.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm not crazy. Okay, there we go.
Joni Mitchell, who's being played by Taylor Swift in the movie about her life.
Oh, interesting. Well, I do.
People got pissed that my mom was like, that's actually a really good choice. And I was like, I agree.
Yep, that's it.
I 100% agree with your assessment on the, like, it literally looks like, my minions just got into my makeup and just started like smearing shit all over the walls.
Like, I don't even see like, oh, maybe this was buildings and then colors got like thrown all over it. It's like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Well, maybe that's the point. You know?
Except for the title. If there was no title for the painting, I could understand that. But because of the title.
Well, I guess I can see that though, because if it's saying like, because you want to think like what was the artist going for, right? So like if it's all a big mix of colors and all these things just kind of mixed in, and you can't, and it's all blended together and you can't see anything and it's all chaotic, isn't that what a city is?
Can I use that?
Yes, you can.
I love that.
I'm hopeful that my professor doesn't find this stream and be like, oh, for someone else.
Well, it's not like I announced that you were going to be on my stream.
It does say unknown guests on your thing. And hey, no, that's what learning is. Learning is collaborative, you know?
That's fair. Yeah. And that's not a perspective I would have previously considered. So
yes. Well, and also it's not like you can just put one word, one line. This is just, you know, my take, and then you agree, and now you're going to expand on it and get the A that you deserve.
If I was feeling more generous towards the painting, I'd be like, oh, it's like the melting pot of Manhattan. But then I just saw all the colors, and it, like, in a weird way, it kind of looked like a flat thing, like at a weird angle, like a perspective thing. It just looked flat to me. And then I was like, it really looks like someone just spilled paint all over the table and then like didn't paint the table. So it looks like it's just floating.
Yes. And or even like I paint. It looks like my palette.
Yeah. Like
that would be like calling my palette art.
Excuse me. That was really attractive.
I do really like art that's like that though, where you're just looking at it like, okay, let me be clear. I don't like this art, but
you're like, let me be clear before you cancel me for my taste in art.
But I like art that does that though, where it's like the title says this one thing, and then you look at it and you're like, what the is this? And then you're like, okay, so if this is the title, and then you have to like work it through in your mind, and then it like makes you think more than if you're just like, I don't know, oranges at sunset, and it's like a sunset and a bowl of oranges. Like that's very clear. It's a bowl of oranges and a beautiful sunset. And yes, you can appreciate the talent and the time that went into it, but it's a freaking bowl of fruit. Okay, like that's cool, but like it's a bowl of freaking fruit. If I want to look at oranges, I'll just buy some from the store and put them in a bowl and go out and look at the sunset. Like I don't need to go to a museum for that. I can live it. But something that will make you think. And then also, like, I just love when the title and what you're looking at don't make sense, because then you have to try to, like, put the pieces together of what is the artist trying to actually say in a bigger, broader sense. And I feel like this just looked like, I mean, maybe her kid did get into her shit and was just like, you know what? I'm just going to slap a title. And because I'm Joan Mitchell, people are going to pay money for it.
Okay? I'm okay with, like, the title not being obvious, like, to the painting. The same way, like, a poem or a novel, you know, like, I'm okay with those things. But sometimes it's, like, just so disconnected, or, like, to me, it seems so disconnected, where I'm like, I don't know if I can enjoy this if I don't understand it to some degree.
Yeah, I feel like without the title, I could ascribe it to a lot of other things. Like it could be a mood or a feeling or something like that, versus with the title. And now I'm just kind of like.
But go with that though. Go with that, because if your initial without the title, you were thinking it's a mood or a theme, right? But then now you know that it's supposed to be city landscape. How do those two things work together? So what was your initial mood that you were getting from it? And then how does that relate back to, I don't think when they're saying city landscape, they're necessarily speaking of the shape of an outline of a building. They're probably, I feel like the artist is thinking more about what the landscape inside the city. And I think that that's where it's talking about. I mean, looking at it again, it's just like a she just dropped a bunch of paint and then tried to make it look like something. But it is a mix of different shapes and colors, and it's vibrant, but it's dark. Like and that's what I think is really cool it's also, you can look at the textures, you know? So it's
at the bottom, there's
that
like
are
a
beautiful.
little shape. And right before we started like really talking about it, I did all of a sudden think that it looked like an umbrella, like without the handle, but towards the bottom right.
Yeah, I can see that right there. Yeah, I see what you mean.
If I were to rename this painting, I would call it Anxiety.
A lot of people get anxious about the idea of living in a city, whereas to me, like, I get anxious about living anywhere outside of a city because I'm like, suburban means serial killer territory in my mind as someone who grew up in the city.
That's so funny because to me it's like, yes, also that was one of our like nightly chores. My brother and I were like, we'd alternate going around and making sure everything was locked. But in this city, I don't know. There's a little bit of like,
Candra has an art class, and so she told us the name of a painting, and I pulled it up on screen, and now we're talking about it. We'll do the next sprint soon, I promise, which will be our third sprint. But yeah, so continue, Candra.
Living in a city, I feel like I'm more concerned about like muggings and stuff like that, or carjacking, than I am about like actually having my house broken into. Versus suburbs, it's much more of like, is somebody gonna break into my house? And then in the country, it's, is some wild animal gonna come and like, eat my dog?
Yeah, I'd be worried about wild animal eating my dog. If you live in certain areas of the city, mugging is a thing you have to be concerned about, but I'm privileged enough to not have to worry about that because of where I live. But like, I'm worried about stuff because I'm Asian and the the deep dish pizza. I almost said pancake again, but like, I don't think there's such a thing as deep dish pancake.
It could be. We could make that a thing.
It's like, that's what makes me feel unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
On top of my pre-existing PTSD of being a woman who's gone through some shit. So yeah, I think it's also like, to live in the city at some degree, you have to have like blinders on. It's like, if you thought about every bad thing that has ever or could theoretically ever happen, you would never leave your apartment ever. But if you think about like, okay, what's most likely to happen? Am I going to be safe? Am I going to be an idiot and like make myself a target for muggers by like having super flashy stuff and being out at night and like not whatever, taking precautions? And that's one thing versus like, okay, I'm doing everything I can. The likelihood of something happening is small. If it happens, that really sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, in my experience, like, I've talked to my friends and we're just surprised that I'm not dead yet, because like, I take no
because you walk your dog at like prime serial killer hunting hours.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine, like, when I was like 22, right? My car, or no, like 22, 23, somewhere in there, and my car broke down. And I lived in one town at the base of a mountain range, like a little mountain, and then I worked in the casinos in another town at the top of the mountain, right? And I was like, I don't want to be a burden. There was no public transportation to take you down the mountain, so I'd either have to have somebody come and get me or somebody take me home. And on days that I couldn't get somebody to take me home, I'd have to be a burden to my roommates. So I got the bright idea that at 2:00 in the morning, I'm going to hitchhike to the top of the mountain and then walk down to the bottom. And then my roommate will come pick me up from the bottom of the mountain. And then she's all down for this plan. She's like, okay, that's great. And then, my friends were like at the bar and they're like, well, where is she? Like, she should be here by now. She's like, oh, she should be walking down Kingsbury. And they freaked out. They're like walking down Kingsbury, and like I think maybe it was not 2. It was probably like 11. But still, walking down a mountain.
You're like, oh no, it wasn't 2, it was 11. I heard what you said the first time.
Yes, the hitchhiking. Yeah. So I hitchhiked to the top, and then whatever. Then I walked down, and then I'm walking down a road like this, huge mountain road. Like it's windy, it's turny, it's steep. I don't have a flashlight. This is like 2008, so like cell phones were not like this. It was like a little flip phone, and I don't think it had any sort of flashlight. So I'm like opening it up, And then I see this car come up, flip around, and then start like coming back down. I'm like, I'm gonna get murdered today. Like I just knew in that moment I'm gonna die. And then car pulls over right in front of me. I'm like, yep, I'm gonna die. And then it ended up being my roommate's boyfriend. Was like, get in the car. What are you thinking? You're gonna die. So
Regina is appalled.
That is so funny.
I mean, I didn't. The good news is I didn't die though.
We do stand roommate's boyfriend.
Yes.
For being like, absolutely not.
And again, Regina, I realized I don't think it was like 2 a.m. Well, because I worked in like a bar.
Backtracking. You already admitted, like,
I'm trying to think, like the restaurant closed.
That you walk your dog at like 2, 3 a.m. So I totally believe that this would have been at 2 a.m. for you.
I'm thinking, okay, so the restaurant closed at 10.
4.
The restaurant closed at 10. It took time to like, close up, tip, leave. So I was probably leaving around 11, probably getting up to the top of the hill around 11:30, and then walking between 11:30 and midnight.
Yeah. So anything between like 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. is like prime, like
murder time. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And like, because people don't get up at 4 a.m. to do crime.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's when like the productive early birds get up. So like that's safer, except for like.
So I would say that like through midnight in New York City, assuming you're not in a super sketch area, is like safe. It's like after midnight until 4 a.m. is like the really sketchy hours, no matter where you are. Definitely don't be in a public park. That's just asking to get whacked by a psycho. And then, it's like, I don't really ever want to be outside before 6 a.m.
Yeah. So for where I was, like I would regularly get up at 4 and to go to the gym. So like 4 to 5, all of it's also a very like outdoorsy fitness focused city. So like you just see like packs of runners out like for different groups, and like, there's a lot of people out just exercising and stuff like that. So it's pretty good. But yeah, before that, especially in the areas where there's a lot of homeless people, like don't do that.
Yeah.
And then also like walking down mountain roads, it's like even if you like don't get kidnapped or mugged or murdered, there is the risk of people not seeing you while you're walking and getting hit by a car, which is not ideal.
Let's be clear. I was 23. I'm 36. I've learned my lesson. Okay? I'm not advocating or
you were talking about how you walk your dog super early in the morning.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Like a year ago.
Sorry. So I know that you're right with that, but also you kind of know.
I know that you're right, but I'm gonna pretend you're not.
No, it's just the situation that I recently left.
Yes.
And let's just say it wasn't always my choice to be walking the dog at 2 a.m. So, and then the dog needed to go out.
I will stop bragging on you because I did not understand
or I take the dog out.
Fair. Yeah. But I will say, for anyone watching this, is like educational purposes, like just do not.
We do not advocate walking. I'm not advocating these choices. I'm saying I am lucky to be alive. These were poor decisions.
These are things that happen.
Dumb, mostly drunk a lot, 23-year-old me versus, adult,
Responsible mom.
36-year-old mother who has learned her lesson. Hi, child. Can you leave my room? Thank you. You're really sleepy? Then maybe we should put you to bed.
Okay, we're going to start the next sprint
Okay.
so that Amara can do mom things and so that I don't have to stay up until like 2 a.m. reading this manuscript for work before I go into work at 9 a.m. So in 3, 2, 1, happy productivity, everyone. that was the end of our third sprint. How did everyone do?
Well, since I gave up on the printer, I actually got some work done. I just kept reading through like what I had previously put inside my like novel binder, and then it's kind of cool to like go back through and read stuff and be like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. That's a good idea. Or, oh, I forgot that I wanted to do that for my character. And then it also just kind of helped open up the like my brain a little bit. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea, but maybe I should change it this way. And then I went from just reading stuff to like actually adding to the notes. So
I love that feeling.
yeah.
Chandra?
I completed the assignment and submitted it. So yay. And then I was like, you know what? That's enough productivity for one day. So I started playing a game.
What game?
Don't Starve Together.
Oh.
And I think I might be done for the evening. I'm actually getting pretty tired, so.
Okay. Do you want to do an outro, or are you gonna?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name's Chandra. I write science fiction, historical fiction, and fantasy. Sometimes I complain about being in school. I also occasionally make videos, and I'm one half of Flash Fiction Live, which you can find on Saturday mornings, starting at 8:30, because we've got a new time due to a schedule change from me. So sorry. I know it's early, but you love us. Come join us. And yeah, thanks so much for having me. I will see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like to give an update on what you did during that sprint and then introduce yourself?
Yeah. So the reason I keep looking at it is because we just installed a old TV, and it's mounted on my wall, and I posted it on Instagram and tagged you in case anybody wants to find it. And I'm still trying to learn. Like, I just finally got it to extend the screen.
Cool.
But I'm still trying to figure out the organization. I at least put the stuff back on the shelf above me. I've vacuumed all the drywall that dropped to the floor as we drilled into the wall. So I was very productive, but I'm still trying to figure out how this is going to work. Because
it took me a bit to adapt to my second monitor. And like, that's like even further away. So it's fine.
Yeah.
I saw you like looking while Chandra was speaking. So I was like, I bet she has the screen like.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking about doing is that I'm going to move StreamYard to here, this monitor, and then I'll move like typing and stuff up there to that monitor. And then I just got to figure out the clamshell thing, because every time I close my MacBook, the sound, of course I was playing Netflix for my kid, but the sound kept on going away from the TV and to the MacBook. I'm like, no, you're closed. Like you are a docking station at this point. So, but I'm going to be finagling this for a bit. But in other news,
that's cool. I haven't figured out how to get sound to come out of my monitor, the one that I have here, which is different than the one that I have at my mom's place, because they both have speakers. And when I go into the settings on the computer to be like, have the speakers through here, it like doesn't work. So I don't know how to solve your problem with that.
Yeah, because I had to go to the speaker thing option. And right now I'm trying to figure out, I have this expanded in the top screen. I'm trying to figure out how to unexpand it so I can move it down to this screen and stop doing this number each time. That's gonna, though my posture might get better if I have more stuff on there. Force me to sit up straighter. So I don't know.
I say that as I'm like hunching so far down, I'm like not even on the screen anymore.
My son lowered my chair, and I'm actually kind of liking it because it's, I think, forcing me to sit upright to like type and get on the camera.
So I am reading on my iPad, and like if I put it on my keyboard, then obviously it types a bunch of random things on the keyboard, and like I don't want it to accidentally end the stream or anything. So I took the keyboard away, which means I'm now hunching over to like, if I'm typing anything, I'm leaning forward because it's on my laptop, or I'm hunching over to read because I have to read this for work. But normally, like, my chair is as low as it can go, and it's a perfect like ergonomic setup with an ergonomic keyboard. My elbows are at like a 90-degree angle on my desk, like they're supposed to be, and like
not quite 90 for me. I actually probably need to go up. I don't know, but I also got this thing to help my wrist, and
mine comes with one. And
nice.
Then also like your laptop is supposed to be at eye line.
I think it is.
Yeah, and then like my monitor, honestly, if I was being like super, super specific, I probably could raise it up a bit more so I don't look down. But like, it's good enough. It's just tonight I have to be hunched over to read this manuscript, and I'm like, the manuscript is getting better though. I'm on page 115. I have to get through page 311 before tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Oh my God, you got to read the whole thing?
I've had this for like 3 weeks. It's just a really stressful manuscript. So I was reading like 20 pages at a time. And then all of a sudden my boss was like, okay, today you need to like get it. Like, we need to talk about it today, meaning this Monday today. And I had to come home early, like very early in the day, because I had a migraine, and then I took my medicine and like felt better. So I went back to work. But I was doing all the other work instead of reading. And then he's like, okay, we really have to talk about it tomorrow though, because otherwise another agent in the agency, he's like, they'll fly across the country and murder me. I was like, well, we can't have that. So now I'm like, I have to read.
Past Sarah was not looking out for present Sarah.
The thing is that like, this wasn't a manuscript where it's like, I can just power through. I can't do that. I have to do it. But it's not one that you can just be like, because it's not even that I don't like it. It's just that it's really, really stressful. And I don't know how to say it. Like,
dense?
No, it's.
Oh, really? Okay, let me. So
it's anxiety provoking because I know something bad is going to happen. And the question is it going to just be bad, or is it going to be bad and triggering to my specific type of PTSD? And that'll be fun.
Brings me a question. Like, as an assistant, you're kind of at the whims of
Yes.
Like, what they are willing to put up with. And if.
Yeah. So, I mean, my boss knows. And, the problem is that we're both reading this manuscript, and we're both kind of like, we're passing each other. Like, one of us will pause,
tortoise and the hare situation almost.
So he told me that like, up until this certain page, nothing's going to trigger you. Because I very vaguely told him like, this type of thing, not great for my mental health. Like, I'm far enough along in therapy, and he is a therapist. So like, it's not like a weird thing for me to say that, that I can still work throughout a day, but like, upsetting stuff is upsetting to me. And then, so he was like, up until this page, it's not a problem. And then I read beyond that and was like, okay. But now I'm like, I don't know how far he is. He hasn't told me anything bad happens, but like.
So he hasn't given you a specific location, but you know it's coming.
I know it's coming, and I'm just like, it's going to be bad no matter what, but is it like bad for me? And I'm just like, So that's what it is. Because otherwise I think I could have finished this like in 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it's like, do I keep going and like run straight into what's probably going to be a brick wall for me? Or do like, I keep hedging my bets, but now I don't have the option.
Yeah.
Well, in a sense, maybe that's a good thing, you know? Like, instead of, because, like, the way you've been doing it, by doing it so slowly, you've been, like,
prolonging the anxiety.
Kind of. And, like, that's also causing more anxiety because you're like, I know this is going, and then that's, like, more stressful, so then you don't continue. Whereas you're just ripping the freaking Band-Aid off today. You're like, you know what? I'm going to bleed, and it's going to suck, but I got some gauze and maybe a glass of wine. or something. You know?
People on speed
Some
dial.
sleeping pills, you know, something. Maybe get some extra medication. I don't know, but like it's like coming. And so
No,
you can
I
just
like both of
get
you.
through.
Like, yeah, I like this reframing.
yes.
It's
But
a
it's also
mindset.
just a pedal to the metal. If
I'm
I go
like
off
a
the
ball of
cliff, at least I
anxiety and
know.
PTSD. So like,
I actually had a person in leadership who doesn't know what I like to do for fun with my job, but they're not directly above me in my chain, but they're above me. Like if I pass them in the hallway, I will step out of their way and slam myself against the wall. So I had to get them to sign something for me, and I had to give a reason of like, hey, this is why we need this memorandum, if you don't mind signing, because you're the authority level. And so I had to send it to them. They ended up emailing it back to me, no problem. Sent me a separate one-on-one message, and I totally nerded out on this because I understand where they're coming from. But they said, you shouldn't use the word effort. And I'm like, okay. And I keep reading, and it's because what we do is our focus is the end, like getting a service or a deliverable or something like that. Like we want the end thing. That is the goal. Effort conveys trying. And that if you put enough in, but you don't get a goal, you're okay. And he's like, that's not the way we work in this office. With the money to get the end. I found it so interesting.
Like that's what I expect. Like as being an English major in undergrad, and then, you know, when you're reading about people who've worked in any industry, like you're seeing more and more of those types of stories. And then, you know, like just in manuscripts left and right. And my therapist is like, why is this everywhere? And I was like, I don't know. But like, it's not just me being like, it's showing up on my radar. It's like, no, it's literally like thrown into my lap. It's like, you have to read this, but just like get through it and then read some other story, which, it's always like, I am happy to be reading because last week was me dealing with this financial cluster F because certain people said one thing and then other people said this other thing. And they're both emailing me to handle it. And I'm like, I can't handle this because if I do it one way, the other one of you will get upset. And so I had to like loop in my boss, who then was like, oh, I need to talk to someone else. And I was just like, it got resolved today.
Hey, I'm glad you had the wherewithal to not just go, oh, I don't want to bother my boss. He hired me for a job, like, because there's so many people that do that. They think that they don't have to ask for help or something, like,
yeah.
And I'm like,
but
no.
This is also like financial stuff. And right after I joined, the people who used to handle the accounting are no longer handling the accounting. It got put onto the agent's assistants where it's like, you need to be doing the accounting for your agent's clients. And everyone's like, we don't know how. So
yeah,
like,
there should be a training.
Oh, they tried.
Bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts. I learned more from the assistant who's been here for like a year longer than me. And she's like, oh yeah, it's really stupid system. This is what you do. And I'm like, God bless you.
So here's another little mini project for you that, not that you need it, but anytime I'm in that situation,
in all my free time.
Yeah, what I do is I start making a how-to guide, and then and through like, don't try this because this will happen. Trust me, I know. Like, and then do it this way. Don't deviate and stuff, like those type of how-to guides. And then really training other people just makes you indispensable.
The problem is that with this software is that even when it's working, it's not effective. So half the time you're like, did it work? And it freezes, so you don't know if it's saved. And then you quit it. You find out it's saved, but then you realize that because it froze, you forgot to like put in a certain field a certain way. And then you're like, so it's just like,
no.
Yeah. But like the
brain
whole
melted
industry is
already.
kind of built on it, so I don't think they're ever going to go away from the software. Even though everyone at my level and like the agents in the New York office, like there are 3 agents, and then there's me and one other assistant in New York, and then in LA there are like 100 people, like including assistants and agents and the people who used to do the accounting stuff for us but no longer do. It's like I know all 5 of us in our office hate this software. I'm sure other people don't like it in LA, but like I don't know them as well because I've never met them. But like, no, I would be shocked if anyone liked this software.
I hate the reason for people to continue to do things that don't make sense. For the
Because it's always been this way.
Yes, we've always done it this way. That is never a reason. Show me in some law or regulation that says you have to. If it doesn't say that, find a better way.
I've gotten the like half the New York office, so me, my boss, and this other person who doesn't have an assistant but sorely needs one, like onto Notion. And I'm trying to get the company to like pay for it, to be like, this would solve so many headaches. And my boss is like, you like overwhelm them with the next person up. He's like, no, you got to do a walkthrough. We can design one.
Walkthrough, and then kind of like what you're doing with your capstone, you also need to include like a dollar figure breakdown of the licensing that you're going to need.
Well, like the thing is though, is that like even if we started small, like it's so worth it because it cuts down on the number of emails that need to be sent that everyone hates.
And if you get that data, talk about the number of emails cut down, talk about the turnaround, like being able to turn around on stuff. Because to me, and here, if you get, sorry, I'm nerding out now. So if we're talking about time frame here, now you're not going to be able to do it, but you could estimate, be like, okay, I didn't ask people how much they make per hour, but estimating that these people make this per hour by saving 6 hours across 8 people per week, and then either per week, per month, or whatever, you have a savings as a company by this much because of this project.
I didn't think to do that, but that, yeah.
But that is what talks.
Being able to collaborate, because the whole thing about where I work is that they're a talent and literary agency. So like everyone in LA is basically like a screenwriter or a director or an actor. And then in New York, we're theater and podcast and book. There is a person doing books in LA too. And the books, audio, and then the book to screen person in LA, like we all collaborate all the time. And I'm like, if we were in Notion, you could just like do an @ and the person's name. You wouldn't have to send like 3 emails.
Yeah,
at minimum.
It's almost
to be
like Google
hey,
Docs.
like I want you to look at this project. You could just tag the person on the project page and be like, have at it. Anyway,
I've never used Notion, but like that sounds great. I'm not gonna lie. I think my brain melted like 6 minutes ago.
It's okay. It's okay. It seems like a lot at once, and it's like once
it
you're
is,
used to it, it's amazing. It's kind of the same with Scrivener, in my opinion. It's like if you're not already using it, you're like, my brain fried 5 words in.
Right.
But once you're using it, you're like, this is amazing.
The key is to curb your expectations and be like, I'm learning this. I'm not going to be as fast typing in this as I was on whatever else software you're using. But like if you give yourself a month, because they say it takes like 28 days to form a habit, and 28 days is good to at least get the basics down where you're going to be efficient in the basics, but still be able to learn past the basics after the 28 days.
Also, like I'm going to be making a guide on like how to use Scrivener, and it's not going to be like, here's like all the crazy things. It's going to be like, here's
as a writer
of types of settings. You can use as many or as few of them as you want. My non-negotiable for you is to set up the autosave. Moving on.
100% absolutely.
It's like that's about it. It's like everything else is like gravy.
I mean, I've never used Scrivener, but I use Write. I don't even know what it's called anymore. Like I keep forgetting. Write and Do It, and that's because I wrote my script before, and so that's like more. But it's very similar to the way that Scrivener is set up. But it's better for like script writing. They have a book setting, and I was like, oh, this is so great. I'll just use this to write my book. And I opened it up, and I was like, I can't function. Like I can't, this is not going to work for me. Where's my Google Docs? Thank you. Especially because I do need autosave.
There are people, so like when people say that, like, oh, I love Word or I love Google Docs, I'm like, I'm not shitting on those softwares. I'm shitting on the fact that Google Docs tends to crash when it's a long document, which makes me worry for my friends who are writing in Google Docs.
I've never had that issue before, though. I've literally never had that issue. Like, I know the one thing that sucks though is that if I'm trying to see how many words are in like a big long section of text, then it's like, okay, I'm gonna take half your life to do this. Thank you. If you just want to do,
We
like,
require a sacrifice.
Yeah. What's so funny is one of the first videos that I've ever done on my channel when I switched over to doing writing content was like this little video on how I was using Google Docs. Thought like literally nobody was going to watch it. I think I had like 20 subscribers. It's had over 18,000 views. And I'm like, why? Like, and I'm so embarrassed by this video, you guys, because like the audio is too loud, like the music in the background is too loud. So in the beginning, I kept having people comment on it, and I just had to put a pinned comment that's like, I know the music is too loud. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I did not know how to edit.
But now you got to
you're
plan.
getting
Re-record.
attention.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's still every month. It's my most viewed video, and I'm like, this thing is 3 years old.
Then you need to re-record it now that you know, and maybe you've learned some new things. Because I have one video that I plan to re-record because it got a whole bunch of views. Not 18,000. I'm not there, but
it's taken a long time.
Yeah, but my point is that you, like, obviously that's something that people still want, and you've probably learned more things, and you probably have a better editing at this point. So re-record it and then put it out there, and then what's the correct verbiage is there, like unlist or whatever?
Yeah.
So that the views still count.
Delist or private.
Yeah. So that way the views still count for you, but you're not deleting it entirely.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Don't private it then, because I think that gets a little bit weird. With
But mine too, though.
If you unlisted it, just still count the views.
Yes.
I might just
unless they
leave it up
changed
too.
that because they realized people were doing that or something.
I could always just like leave it up there though, and then just add the like an end, like the end screen, or even add like the little eye and be like updated, you know, and like put a comment that's like, hey,
I think you should put like in a pinned comment, and in the description, like there is an updated version.
Yeah. And then you can add like the
better.
end screen to click on the updated version, or you can do the like where it pops up like and it's like, if you want an updated version,
I would say pin it at the beginning.
Yeah, like
because
do
not
a card
everyone
at the start in the video, in the description, and a pinned comment. Like get 1, 2, 3, so that like it's very obvious that like So if someone watches through, like it's not that you didn't tell them there was a new version.
And it's not a bad video. It isn't. I'm a little embarrassed just because like I literally made this because I was like, nobody's gonna watch this, but like whatever. And I was like, oh my God, like people are watching this, and it's still up
I'm
there.
gonna watch it tomorrow after I finish writing this manuscript.
Oh my God. Has anybody in chat, if y'all are still hanging out with us through the nerd talk of documents and stuff, find it, post it in chat. I will find it at the next sprint. I'll post it. I got nothing.
I mean, I already have Amara's YouTube channel up because I was like making sure that I got the URL correct, because I need to like add y'all's links
to the description.
For once the stream is over. But let's see.
Oh God, now you're going and searching for it, aren't you?
Yes.
Of course you are.
Do it.
Of course you are.
Okay, I'm looking at all your uploads. By the way, I love your thumbnails, the ones with like the letters with like that font with the underlining the vowels.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Wait, which one? Like my more recent ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I you'll see I've had a lot of changes to my thumbnails. And I think that's
No,
the
that's
one that
okay.
people seem to like. Like I finally
No,
figured out, like, what
I like
think.
it.
No, as you evolve and stuff, I think it's completely fine because otherwise, if you have
I
the
mean,
same
I also
thumbnails,
love the font on your like oldest ones too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you have the same thumbnail for like every single video, just change out the picture or something, it kind of gets lost. And
Yeah.
like I've done almost over 80 flash fiction prompts videos,
Oh, wow.
and I changed the thumbnails like this past week. And so
So
now
what
it's
I've
a little different.
basically done is tried to make it so like the ones you can see like they're a little different in December because that was like when I was supposed to be doing my like Christmas videos. But I still kept the same font. So what I've basically done with my thumbnails to make it easy for me and also just to make it like so it's recognizable if it's a vlog, I use the same font, but I'll do like a little collage thing, and then I put the font in the middle. And then if it's a sit down video, I use the same background, and then I do like the collage kind of like in the middle, and then like in the middle of the collage is where you'll see the words. And then if it's a sit down video, I still have the same kind of background, and then so the colors and the stuff all looks the same, and then I'll just put like the thumbnail picture and then the description or title of the video kind of above my head. And I do that every time, and it makes it so much easier too because then I don't have to spend an hour trying to figure out a thumbnail. I just need to spend 20 minutes trying to go through how many pictures I hated till I find the one. Oh God, of course you did.
Yes. But see, even if viewers aren't aware of that distinction, subconsciously they are at least.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, she's got a vlog up, or oh, she's got a video.
Yeah.
And
You
so
can't really tell the difference.
I just don't have the patience to go through and find like screenshots of like a vlog. So what I do is like most of mine are all text based, but like when I do a Broadway baby video on my channel, like it's very clearly like the poster or the logo or the the main image of like whatever Broadway show it is. So like you can tell it's different than like my writing stuff. And then my vlogs are like this gray background with the whatever. In the beginning it was like a white background and just like day whatever Camp Nano. And so yeah, I'm normally not in a thumbnail. Like I know that they say that like if you're in the thumbnail you're more likely to get a photo, get a click, but I'm just like I'm just putting up the videos because these are what I want to make. Like, I'm like, I don't have the time, energy, or care enough to like optimize literally everything about my YouTube channel because it's like I have a day job that I really like, technology frustration aside, and like I'm doing a podcast and I'm still in grad school. It's like if I ever have more free time, maybe I'll optimize all my thumbnails. Probably will never happen.
Right. I am really bad for doing that thing where you like pose and smile for your thumbnail. Like I forget every time. And so then I just have to go through my video and try to find one where I'm smiling.
Well, that's what Kate Kavanaugh does. Like
that's
when she's like streaming her screen during her Twitch streams, like you'll see her like scrubbing through her editor, like trying to find a thing, and then she takes a screenshot.
I do the same
whatever
thing.
it is. So like,
I
if
don't
it works
pose.
for her, I don't think there's anything wrong.
I get close enough, but then I get those shots where I'm going, and I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work. And then I'm going, like, I'm like, this is not going to work. Or my kid comes in the shot.
I'm pretty sure that when like you upload and YouTube is like, oh, here's like 3 options, or you can upload your logo. I'm pretty sure it intentionally is designed to find the ones that are the most ridiculous, embarrassing, or somewhat terrifying. I've had ones where I'm pretty sure I'm like casting some sort of evil spell. There's one where I straight up look like I'm like about to get eaten by a zombie or something. Like they're not.
My mouth is open in every single one. But yes, I talk a lot. But seriously, does every single one have to be?
This is why I have my thumbnail set. It's never my face. It's like it's legible,
Yeah.
and I don't even look at what it suggests. I'm just like, upload my own, click.
I've started changing it up because I do for the flash fictions. I'll get just one picture from the clip or whatever. Sometimes I'm holding up the book that I always reference, but now I'm starting to use Canva and put in like little icons or whatever. So like the most recent one I did was it's called Getting Away with Murder, but there was a thunderstorm or clouds and stuff like that. So I put dark clouds, little cartoon clouds over my picture a little bit. And that's about as vamped up as I've gotten.
Well, I watch a lot of true crime, and I love that, like, you can tell, like, they use the same photo. Like, there's one chick I watch. I love her. She's from, like, the UK, and she just always uses the same picture of herself and then just, like, puts, you know, whoever murdered and died in the background. And then, like, she doesn't post. She doesn't do anything. And, like, she has lost a significant amount of weight. So sometimes, like, you click on it, but you can tell you're like, yeah, she forgot to take a new picture. She forgot to, like, grab the right photo. Because it's like, here's one from, like, you know, a year ago when you can tell that, like, it was before weight loss. And then the next thumbnail will be like, she remembered to take a picture or something. And now she's got, like, skinnier face. But she always uses, for the most part, the same picture of herself, and then just, here she is in the front, and then here's dead people behind her. And I'm like, you know, I think I can do that. Like, here's a picture of myself, and then, I don't know, here's books behind me.
I would be evil and like start shifting books behind me and everything, but only one each time. And you got to figure out which one it is and each week. I'd make a game out of it.
Oh my God, no. What you could do is, like, you should totally start making, by the way, all your thumbnails in front of a bookshelf. But what you do is, like, you move a book and, like, you try to, like, spell something out. So, like, you put a book, let's say it's A is the first letter in the book, and then the next word you want, I don't know, whatever you're trying to spell. Maybe you need, like, you get a book that starts with, like, I don't know, whatever the second letter is, you know?
I think people worried about me because I would spell out, like, save me or something. Buy me books.
I'm out of coffee.
Run.
Start with the simple ones, like when I thought I could play Scrabble when I was younger. Keep the word short.
Okay, we're gonna do our next and probably final sprint.
Yeah, I got your video pulled up. That's what I plan to do during this time. I didn't even see how long it is.
My kids have not
15?
come and interrupted me in a while. I'm pretty sure they're sleeping.
How did you get that to happen?
It's called the Kids Gummy Melatonin and bedtime.
Yeah. It's bedtime
okay
for mine.
For all the people in the audience, it's okay. It's just melatonin, and their doctor recommended it. So
there you go.
Yeah.
My daughter.
I wasn't worried, but
melatonin is technically a natural thing in your body that's supposed to
Yeah.
occur. It's just an pill
exactly.
form
It's
too
just
to
some
help it
people,
along.
and I have issues with it. And my kids, literally, if I did not give them the kids melatonin, they would be up until like midnight every night.
No, nobody.
Like, I know this because they were
bueno.
up until like midnight every night. And then I was just like, I was crying, and then I saw somebody recommend it, and I was like, I don't know if this is okay. And then I called their doctor, and they're like, yeah, they need to sleep. That's why they make them. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, if they make a children's version of it, it's probably been tested and everything. I know, God, my daughter, she's 11, and her brother's, he's 4. He's already in bed. But my 11-year-old was like, "Oh, you're about to stream?" And I was like, "Yes, sweetie. Life happens after you go to bed." Like,
the day doesn't end.
Like,
just because you're in
things
bed.
occur.
So I've been recommended multiple times by different doctors to be like, you should like take melatonin, and I can't. Like, if I take it, I am so groggy the next day. Like, my mom will sometimes take a sleep aid, like if she needs to, and she'll be super groggy, and that's like a actual sleep aid.
Yeah.
Like that's me with like the smallest amount of melatonin that you can like get over the counter at.
Have
like,
you tried kids? I mean, I don't say this to be funny, but like I have
No.
kids
I know you're not being funny. I haven't. I'm
trying
to get my sleep schedule back on track, so I'm hoping I don't need to. But if I need to, maybe I'll try a kids.
I mean, because
I didn't even know they made it for kids.
They do have other ones too that are alternatives to melatonin that are basically just, I don't know. I don't freaking know. I've only given them the melatonin, but it is a very low dose. I think most of them are between like 0.5 and 1 milligram, which is what my kids take 1 milligram.
That might be good for me because I've always been very sensitive to medicine. Yeah. So
I mean, you just want to think if this, my kids have been taking it for a little over a year. And there are some nights that they're like, I can tell they're so tired. I'm like, yeah, you don't need this tonight. But like most nights, it's like, yeah. For my
I'm sure there's got to be a vitamin
your proper sleep habits, you're going to take the melatonin.
Yeah.
What was that?
I was going to say there's got to be some vitamin form because for people who don't like caffeine, there's vitamin B12 that's supposed to help wake you up and take that in the morning. So there's got to be like a vitamin equivalent if you.
I was taking vitamin B, and then my dermatologist was like, hey, I think it's making you break out. And I stopped taking the vitamin B. And now I like rarely break out except when I'm on my period. Oh, and I'm like, okay, great. But watch that I'm going to be vitamin B deficient again the next time I'm tested for something.
Right up there with like vitamin D deficient because though now with the time change, hopefully it stays like this. I think there's a bill that's being passed through.
I'm really hoping. I'm hoping, but I don't actually have hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not going to hold my breath. Let's put it that way.
You can also try this one. I've never tried it. My kids have never had this one, but it is on here. It's called Kids Sleep, Relax and Fall Asleep Quickly. They're gummies. It says it's melatonin free. And it has chamomile, valerian, lemon balm, and whatever the hell L-theanine? I don't know.
If you want to send it to me.
I'm going to send it to you. Yes.
There we go.
Try that too. Maybe look into something like that or like try the melatonin. And if that doesn't work, then try something else. But
just one day you're randomly going to get an Instagram message from me and be like, I tried it. And you'll be like, what?
But the key is, I think most things they say try it a week or something like that.
Yeah. No, it was just because I tried it and I was so groggy the next day that I was like, I don't think it wasn't like, oh, it didn't work. So I'm going to like.
It's like this worked out a little
It was
too
like,
well.
it worked a little bit too well.
It worked too good. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start in 3, 2, 1. Our final sprint. How did everyone do?
I actually did a lot. I mean, I finished going through the entire binder and then just kind of added some stuff or changed a few things as I was going through different parts of notes. So I actually did a lot. I came to a little note that I wrote on the very back page that I have no idea what I was thinking of. It says, idea, the group goes camping. What group is supposed to go? I don't understand what that's even supposed to mean. But apparently at one point I thought the group going camping was a great idea. I'm going to scratch that off because I don't know. But I'm going to leave it here. Because I
was gonna say, don't scratch it off. Maybe just leave it in the idea graveyard until it has a resurrection.
Yeah, but it's definitely not going in anything that I have already worked on. So I should probably figure out who the group is and why they're going camping.
Makes me think when I went back to my childhood journal or diary days, and it's today sucked, and I'm like, all right, Past Natalie, you're going to need to give me a little bit more. We can't just make a blanket statement with no details and supporting arguments here. What was so bad about August 14th, 2002? Okay.
I'm not doubting that it didn't suck for you at the time, I need context.
I'm curious because it's funny as adults, part of the joy, if we can call it that, of being an adult is when things go south. I'm going to try to make it PG. When things go south, we kind of look back and go, you know what? When I was 15, I thought losing my favorite pencil was the worst. This is much worse. All right. It kind of puts things in perspective that maybe you've grown. You also got more serious problems, but you've grown.
Speaking of things going south, it went south in the manuscript and the way that is bad for me personally. And I was called it. So.
Oh no.
So, but was there mention of it happening again further? It's a continuous thing?
No, they mentioned it as a past thing twice, but I have a feeling that so I have 12, I'm halfway, chapter wise, I'm halfway through the story, but I'm only a third in page wise, which is kind of really confusing my mind. And I'm it's gonna get worse because someone's pretending to be the sister of the bad person. So now I'm that's gonna come up, which means that the bad person is probably going to show up again at some point. And
there's an existing lie that has to unfold. The truth has to be revealed.
Well, so that it didn't get revealed until right before the idea of I'm going to pretend to be this person. And I'm oh no.
Oh, gosh.
Really good story. But for me personally, I'm
yeah.
And it just sucks because if you were reading for enjoyment, you could just put it away or choose not to read it. But you don't get that option. So what are you going to do for yourself then later to try to decompress and do a little bit of self?
I don't know. I'll probably watch
Broadway,
something super
Disney.
happy, an NCIS episode where someone got murdered.
Oh my God,
wait,
there's
what?
so many happy things. So, by the way.
Super happy murder somebody.
NCIS is my comfort show, though, because I know, I've watched the episodes enough times that it's not only do I know that it obviously ends with the villain
getting caught,
what they deserve, but it's also I know the funny quips and the order that they happen and the timing, so it's very comfortable for me, and it's it's enough that it takes my mind off this stuff without being oh, this is also terrifying. But I can't watch Law and Order SVU because that stopped being okay for me once I realized my own level of trauma. I was can't do that. And then my mom can't even watch Criminal Minds. She's that's too sadistic for her. But she watches all the true crime stuff, and I'm
I watched it then too, yeah.
I was I can't watch the true crime. If it's scripted, I know that it's based on the fact that people in real life can be really, really screwed up monsters.
Oh, but
at least it's
true.
scripted. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
And
I
then you
listened
watch
to
the unsolved things. Isn't that
Oh,
what
no.
it's called?
Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
That guy's voice from the 90s.
Oh my god.
Oh my god,
Like,
she
forever.
watches that, and I'm like, and when I would be like, when I was still living with her, if I'd hear it from her like bedroom, because so like the way my mom's apartment is set up is that there's like living room and kitchen, and then like the back half is like where our bedrooms are, and like they're not right next to each other, but I have really good hearing, so like I can hear what's happening on her TV screen if she has her door open. And whenever that would come on, I'd be like, either turn the volume down or close your door because I'm trying to sleep and not have nightmares. Thanks.
When I was a kid, I would hear Unsolved Mysteries, and that would terrify me. And the other one that I would hear this person's voice, and I would be instantly terrified as a child, Barbara Walters. I don't understand. That one confuses everybody. I don't know why. Like, it could be the middle of the day and like something like The View comes on, and I'm like, I'm scared. Okay, like I'm like,
No, I mean we all have our
scared.
associations and
Yeah.
things like that.
You're muted.
There we go. I thought I clicked it, but then the thing came down. I was like, hey, you're muted it. And y'all said it at the same time. And I'm like, thanks. So parents whose kids have grown up and moved out of the house, there's studies showing where parents, like the empty nester syndrome is like so true, where they have to have a TV playing on because they're so used to sound. Like their anxiety, they start shaking when it's silent because that usually means danger. In a house with kids.
I don't know. I think like I was always like quiet and like reading in my room or like watching, you know, something on my computer, but like with headphones in. So I don't actually know how much my mom like heard me while I was living at her place, except for, you know, when I was walking around. But it was like
the most my parents heard was like the video game system going. But even then I would keep the volume down.
I've watched some NCIS LA. I don't like it as much. Like, I like the actors in it, but I just don't like, I don't feel like the team gelled as well as the like normal NCIS team, but I don't watch the new episodes of the like NCIS because it's like half the people I love left the show. And like the people that got to replace them, I was like, you didn't recapture any magic. You didn't create any new magic like you did after Kate left after Kate left the show and you brought Ziva on. It's like, you know, that was a different kind of magic. You know, you weren't trying to recreate it, but it like was a different type of magic. And then whatever happened after that, I was like, nah.
I've never watched that one. Any of the end. Shh. Quiet, Franklin. Sorry. Scares the crap out of me though, because we're talking about all these scary shows, and then I hear something at the door or something like outside, and then the dog's like, "Rah," and I'm like, I'm so glad I have a security system.
So I will watch the neighbor next door's the killer stuff all the time, but paranormal things, I am like, it ruins me. I have to watch a comedy sketch, Disney, something other.
So you can't watch like Supernatural?
No, like, okay, so shows, because it's got a comedy aspect, is fine. And I've seen scary stuff, but like, I usually watch it in the middle of the day, like the Conjuring series, Insidious series.
Oh, like I would never watch those. Like, those would scare the crap out of me like any time of day. But I watched Silence of the Lambs at night while I lived alone in a like brownstone at Boston University that like really did not have security. And apparently I didn't tell my mom how little security Boston University had until like 2 weeks ago. She's like, you did not tell me that. I was like, oh yeah. I probably made the conscious.
Every time you say,
tell you that.
Is it Boston? Is that what you're saying?
Boston, yeah.
Okay, because I keep on hearing, like in my head, I finish it out in my head, and I'm like, Boston Say doesn't have security. There is no security in Boston Say, and that's where I go in my head.
Yeah, so. But yeah, so I watched that, and my mom's like, you of all people who was scared of Jim Carrey as the Grinch watched Silence of the Lambs alone in your dorm room while you were like in a city that isn't the one you grew up in alone. And I was like, well, I triple locked my door. Like
hello.
Like I wasn't stupid, but like I'd read the book, so I wasn't scared of the movie.
That one's not too bad. Yeah, so I agree. Like paranormal stuff is the stuff that will freak me the F out.
Yes.
Like, okay, so worst experience of mine, like watching something like as a kid, was I was like 12 or 13 when I Know What You Did Last Summer came out. And I was so excited for that movie. Like I wanted to watch that movie. That movie was like life. Okay. Like I had to see this. And my dad's second wife was like awful. Right. And yeah, he's been married 3 times. My dad loves marriage. Anyway, so his second wife was like the worst, right? And she kept trying to get me to watch The Exorcist. And I was like, no, I won't watch that. That's terrifying. I won't do it. So then I had been at my friend's house, Lori, who lived down the street. And like, we had come back to my house and she met us outside and was like, I've got a surprise for you girls. And or for me, basically. And I'm just like, what? And she pulls out, and it was, of course, the VHS because I'm old as shit. So it's like the VHS of I Know What You Did Last Summer that she got from like Blockbuster. And I'm so excited. I'm like 12. I'm like jumping up and down and clapping. She's like, but you can't watch it until you watch this. And she pulls out The Exorcist. Sorry, that was my alarm. And I just started crying. And I was like, my dad. And he's like, why don't you do this? It's really not that bad of a movie. It's fine. You take the other movie down to Lori's house. You have a sleepover tonight. Like, you guys watch your little stabby teenage movie. And then I will watch The Exorcist with you tomorrow during the day. So I was like, fine, you know. And then my dad like sat with me, like we watched the movie. I made him turn on every single light in the house and open up all the blinds. And we watched it at like noon. And I still had nightmares for like a freaking, no joke, for like a year after that.
Yeah, no, the backman going down the stairs scene, like, and there's a few others.
I haven't seen the film. I will never see
it's
the film.
Yeah.
I will never see. So
even through 70s, like, or it was 70s.
Okay,
I
so
think.
the Twilight
It
Zone,
still holds.
You know that episode with the plane?
Yes. Creepy.
So my mom loves that episode, and it was on, and we were with family one day, and they're like, oh, let's watch it. And I flipped out, and I was like, no.
Or the Hitchhiker Twilight Zone episode with Dan
I haven't
Aykroyd.
seen that. That was my first exposure to actually seeing a Twilight Zone episode, and I was like, I'm out.
I'm
What was
not
that?
doing
No,
this.
thank you. Like, I can
you talking
handle Hitchcock, but I could not handle the Twilight Zone.
See, to me, that wasn't bad. Like, I grew up, like, I don't know. My dad probably was looking back at the stuff that I watched when I was little. Like, what the fuck were my parents thinking? Like, I grew up on, I mean, my dad watched Rocky Horror Picture
no way that I
Show.
should have been allowed to be watching Law and Order SVU and NCIS with the grisly murders that were happening when I was like 5.
Yeah.
Maybe I started watching it when I was 6. But like,
Yeah, I think I was like 12, 13, somewhere in there when my dad put on the Rocky Horror Picture Show and was like, this is the best, worst movie ever made. And it's still to this day one of my favorites. But yeah, I mean,
feel like a lot of people did that. And you're like, yeah, now not appropriate, but also like at the time.
Yeah,
like,
I was, you know, look at what
you're
it was.
just like,
But,
oh, it's campy. And like, maybe you don't understand all the implications.
yeah, I didn't understand like anything that I watched back then. Now I'm like, what the was my
Hell, even the show How I Met Your Mother, there's certain things that just didn't age well, and that was really
Oh my God,
recent.
there are things that didn't age well in How I Met Your Mother, in Friends,
Yes.
in like, you look at any
Sex in the City was
comedy
like
show and you're like, that did not go over well. Like, that would not happen now.
Yeah.
No, Sex in the City, which is like my favorite series of all time. Like, still, I watch it sometimes and I'm like, that's super cringy. Ooh, that's really gross. Yeah, that would not. But in 90s, early 2000s, like that was what shows were doing. It wasn't like, but now you're just like, and then they tried to like
I
make
watched
themselves
both
better.
Friends and How I Met Your Mother, like way after. Like, I think I was watching them like when people were already like, I miss it stage. And like, I watched it and I was able to be like, oh, that's funny. And then also like with other things, be like, that's not cool.
Yeah. Although I will say How I Met Your Father is so freaking adorable. And I absolutely
I
love
haven't
that
seen it.
show.
I haven't seen it
I
yet.
love
I was
it.
going to, and then I saw some people were like, "Oh, it's like kind of dumb," and I was like,
No,
"Do I watch
No.
it? Should I watch it?"
it's so
Yes.
good. It's so
Like,
good. I'm
even-
a little behind on it, but I freaking love
I was sold on the first 2 episodes, or it might have been
Mm-hmm.
the first episode. But no, second episode. Second episode is what really sold me on it, because it was talking about an inside joke that is
Mhm.
so relatable for people, like, because we
Mhm.
and the key word is doppelganger. We'll just say that,
Yeah.
because I don't
Okay.
want to ruin it for anyone. But it was that part was so relatable for me.
I
And
know. I love the British boyfriend guy. I love him so much. He's so cute. And like, I love the one thing that I love that they did though is, and I mean, it's kind of a little spoilery, but not really. But
Yeah.
they just basically say, like, at the end, she just says, like, and that's how I met your father. And then they show like this montage of all the different men who have shown up in that episode. So instead of like in the How I Met Your Mother, where it's like, oh, well, who is it? You already kind of are invested. So you're going to be invested right away into the series of figuring out which one of these men is the father. And then
that's cool.
but then they do also find other ways of doing it, like, because there's a big party in one of the scenes, right? So you're like, okay, or no, she says, like, and that's like the night I met your father is what she says, something
Yes.
like that. That's not how I met it, but that's the night I met your father, or something like that, or
Mhm.
that's
that's
night-
the end of
something along-
episode
I can't
1.
remember the word she said, but she says it in a way so
But
then
it's
they
like
can
vague
still
enough, but like,
Yeah.
it's like
So they
you're
can still
getting
inc-
close.
Exactly. So they
Uh-huh.
can still incorporate other people throughout the series that could be the father, and then just tie it back to like that one event.
Yes.
Because in a party there's lots of people there.
I feel
But
like
also,
I would like
it
that
could be
better
one
than
of
the
the
yellow
names.
umbrella.
Oh my god, and I'm sorry, like, one of my biggest, and for people that have not seen this, I'm really, really sorry. Mute your screens because I'm going to spoil the ending. Okay, thank you.
Of How I
Um,
Met Your Mother.
Yes, of How I Met Your Mother. The thing that gets me the most is how they spent so much time getting the wedding between, I forget everybody's names, but the chick and Barney. I fucking love them so
Yeah,
much.
Robin.
Like, I
Robin.
love them. And
They were
then-
so good.
they were so good. And then it's just like, wedding. Oh, we're not together. What the
But it's also like at the very end, it's like, oh, it's like you've been in love with Robin this whole time. It's like the writers clearly could not let go of like their original OTP, even though all of the other writing for the rest of the seasons, like in between, were like made it very clear that like Robin and Ted should not end up together.
No, well, because
No.
they did all that stuff with the kids in the very first season. Like, that was all. That's why the kids never aged throughout the whole
I
thing.
know.
You see them, and so it's like they had already decided from the very beginning that it was going to be the two of them. And then as the series went on, they just changed so much that then it's like, no, it's not Ted and
It's like you
Robin.
can't shoehorn the end back in because you just completely undercut all the progress that you like character development that you did.
Right.
Which is like I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but like supposedly it's like
I haven't seen it either.
Kind of like, they did all this character development and then at the very end they like torpedoed it all.
I just want to answer JC. JC, you do not have to watch How I Met Your Mother before watching How I Met Your Father.
No.
I heard that the only thing that's really the same is that they use Marshall and Lily's apartment.
That's it. Yeah. They just and they kind of explain it. Yeah.
Nope. There's another thing later.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like,
there's a couple things. There could be little things, but it's nothing that it's like you have to have seen this to understand.
Yeah, like because they kind of.
It's more like Easter eggs for people that have seen both, or like little fun little tie-ins for people.
But it's not going to be you miss a major plot point because you didn't watch.
It's kind of like what was that show? Westworld. So a lot of people don't realize that Westworld, the show, was actually a sequel to Westworld, the movie, that was made in like the 70s, I think, early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't know that. And I've seen, and it's like, you don't need to have ever seen the movie to watch, enjoy, and understand Westworld, the series.
Absolutely.
But if you
I did hear that it was related to a movie.
If you've seen the movie, you have like a deeper understanding and a deeper level of explanation of what's going on. Like, I have never seen the whole series. I haven't even seen the whole like first season. But
I saw the first
remember
season.
In the first episode, they talk about an event that happened 30 years ago. That event was the movie.
Oh, that was the movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So when
did
they're talking
you
about like
ever-
this thing that happened, the movie is the thing.
Well, did you ever see the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I did, and I love it. And oh my god,
Yes.
and how,
Right, but then
Though
like
I like the show
Senate,
better.
when they're like, oh, like you left your last school because the gym burned down. And
yeah, it's the
like,
same thing. Like she's just taking over. It's just everything that happened after the movie.
Though
it's
I
just
will
insane.
say, between the show Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the movie, the show to me did a much better job because I like it when vampires turn to ash because they're
the
so
show
old.
did it much better than
I like that they turned to ash because in the movie it was they got a stick in their heart and the body's still there for people to find. And I'm like, how the hell are you going to explain this?
So like
there's
the
bodies
thing
everywhere.
is that like in the Vampire Diaries, they were like, okay, we're always gonna get a witch to like make them like invisible or something, or it's like we're gonna like, they had ways to do it and it like worked. But when you're trying, because basically half the town of Vampire Diaries, Mystic Falls, like are vampires, so they know how to hide the fact that like they're killing other vampires. But when you have one vampire slayer and the vampire bodies are still there, it's like, you want me to believe that she's fighting all the vampires and doing her own garbage cleanup, like to hide the secret?
Yeah.
It's like too far.
Well, and then the show, it was very for the time that it came out, it seems a little old now, but for the time it came out, it was very forward thinking. Like,
I mean, there are still some things in there where I'm like, that was really good. I hate that it's Joss Whedon now that we know stuff about him, but it's like
which
the
one's that?
stuff itself still holds
he's
up
awful.
often. And then you get to that episode where even the actor hated it, and I was like, I'm out.
Ooh.
The one thing I will say the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie had that the series did not have is Luke Perry. I mean,
I am still so sad that he died.
oh my god, so sad. So
Yeah.
sad.
Like I wasn't even still watching Riverdale at that point, but when I heard that and then they're like they wrote it in and they were like, oh yeah, like we were all actually crying during the funeral scene. I was like, yeah, no shit, I would be too.
To me, that's like when they rebooted Gilmore Girls and they had Richard had passed away, and I'm like, don't remind me. Like, oh god, because Richard and Emily, like that was the couple I wanted. I shipped them forever.
And he was so pretty. Not just yes, he was a great actor, but he was also so
Great eye candy. Guilty.
yeah.
Oh.
Um,
Did we just cover like every single genre from about every single year? We've got 70s, 80s, early 90s, shows that don't age well. Making sure. Though I will say, when we're talking about, Silence of the Lambs, you read the book, and so you kind of knew what was going to happen. I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to name things, but I'm enjoying it with current shows that deviate from the book, because then it's like I get two news stories in the same book.
oh,
I'm
I
like,
know it. I think I know what you're talking about.
and it keeps me on my toes a little
I
bit more
want to say stuff, but I've been saving it.
till Saturday.
Yes.
So when you're talking about like shows that deviate from the book, I think the best one that I can think of is Gossip Girl. Like I am afraid to admit I have read every single Gossip Girl book. I just looking at them on my bookshelf, I feel like my IQ drops a little bit. But they were so like they were not well written. They were ridiculous. They were stupid, and I read every single one, and I still have them, and I don't care. Like it's an embarrassing little thing, but that was my thing. Okay,
That's
and then
like
I
me
saw
with
the
House
show.
of Night series.
Show so much better though, so much freaking better than the series like ever could have been. And
I didn't read. I tried to read and noped out so quick on House of Night.
House of Night was, I mean, it just
Look, when
it
it
seemed
opens,
juvenile at times.
when it opens with the mean girl giving a guy a in the stairwell,
yeah.
I was like, I don't need this.
Well, and then later in the series, it got a little bit more for the main character, like exploring her world, self and stuff. And I was just like, it just felt juvenile at times, honestly.
I read the first few Pretty Little Liars books, and then I just stopped because I stopped caring, and I didn't watch the show all the way until the end. But every time they're like, "Oh, A got revealed," I'd like look it up, and I'd be like, so like I know every single A reveal that they did in the show just because like I was a nosy little person who like has the internet. But my cousins who went to my high school before me, they're 6 and 8 years older than me. They were like, "Oh my God, you have to watch Gossip Girl." Because I had introduced them to the Hunger Games, and they're like, and so every Thanksgiving, like I would read to them, and then we'd see the movie, and then like, you know, and I clearly gave them a much better quality thing than what they gave me in making me watch Gossip Girl. But I was like, we grew up in this world. I don't need to watch this world. I hate everyone in the world that I grew up in. I don't need to spend my free time watching a fictionalized version of the people I don't like. Like, it's soap opera-y. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I liked other CW shows that are like as campy and are basically like that campy because they know that it worked from Gossip Girl. But it's just like, I need the level of like, oh, they're vampires, or oh, this is like completely historically inaccurate Mary Queen of Scots. You know, like I need the level of separation.
I think the weirdest and probably biggest storyline mistake that they ever made, though, on that show, I mean, there was probably many, but I still don't care. I love it. Though, was the whole like the two characters that are like dating each other, but then their parents started dating, and their parents dated back in the day. But then they share a sibling. Like, I'm so sorry. If you share a sibling, you should not be banging. I'm sorry. Like, you just should not.
Okay, but also, can I just say that when they revealed who it was, they then had interviews where they're like, oh, we recut the pilot because of a certain shot and it gave it away. And I was like, when I watched this on Netflix, that shot was there. And I guessed who it was from the first episode way before. Like, so I was watching the first episode before they had revealed the end. Like, they hadn't reached the end yet, but they were like getting there.
Yeah.
And so I called it. And then even like I had read The Duke and I like for like maybe 6 years ago. And like I'd kind of forgotten that I had until my mom was like, oh, Bridgerton, blah, 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 blah. And it's based on this book called The Duke and I. And she's describing the plot. I was like, I read this. And she's like, when? And I was like, 6 years ago, maybe. But like, so like I hadn't really remembered who Lady Whistledown was. But like in like the first episode of the first season of Bridgerton, they have a certain shot that's like the one in Gossip Girl. And I'm like, oh, it's that person. And then everyone else watches it and they're like, who is it? Who is it? And at the end, they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, they have a really obvious shot in the pilot, buddy. Like,
but I feel like that's
to look for. It's there.
I feel like that's a plug for people who read the books. Just like when we were talking about Westworld and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where there's these like, if you've seen the previous stuff or read the previous thing.
Well, like I didn't even remember that it was back there in my mind. And it was just like, this reminds me so much of the shot in Gossip Girl. And I hadn't read those books. And you know, the whole thing is that the Gossip Girl books were inspired by the Bridgerton books. And then the log line for Bridgerton, the Netflix
I did not know that.
Like, oh, it's like Gossip Girl meets Downton Abbey. And it's like Downton Abbey.
I did not know that the Gossip Girl stuff was based on that. Interesting.
Yeah. So it was like, it was just like a weird sense of deja vu because obviously I'd read the book, but I didn't remember really that I'd read the book until I was like in it. And then I was like, but the shot made me think of
now I want to go back and watch
Girl,
it.
And then I was like, oh, it all came back to me.
Now I feel like I need to go back and rewatch it, which I've been wanting to rewatch Gossip Girl. Like, okay, so my best friend and I, we had this thing we were going to do during the summer. We started and then just stopped watching. We were going to go back and just like rewatch all the like cheesy teen dramas. Like we started with One Tree Hill. Then I think we were going to do Dawson's Creek. Then we were going to do, I don't remember what the other one was, and Gossip Girl. Like we're going to watch them all, right? We got through like, I got 2 episodes to the end of the OC was the other one. Yes. So we were going to watch the OC.
Because one of the actors in the OC is represented by my agency and everyone is like obsessed with this actor.
Oh my God. That's hilarious. Yeah, I've seen the OC. I love the OC. I actually never watched it at all when it was on TV and then or on air. And then I remember there was a channel like SoapNet or something. And I was like, what? You gotta remember I'm old. And so I was like watching it and it came on and I literally watched like the parts in like season 3 where she like lives in the trailer and she's doing drugs and stuff. I was like, what is this show? Like, what is this? And then this is like before streaming, okay? Like, that's how old I am, you guys. This is before you could just like click a button and it would show up on your screen. I had to go and drive to the Best Buy, like the next town over, because I lived in a really small town, so I could buy
how
the
young you think I am. I remember a time before streaming. Like, I remember my mom going to the video store and like renting things. I had
Blockbuster
VHSs and then DVDs, and I CDs like the first
Radio Shack, Media Play,
Netflix, like it's like mailing. I remember all of
mailing.
I might be the last generation that remembers any of this stuff, but when people are like, "Oh, like you don't know this," it's like actually I do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I had to drive down there. I would buy the whole DVD season, go home. I buy one season at a time because I'm an idiot, right? And then I like go home and I'm like, okay, I would binge like the whole.
Well, I guess you gave yourself an out where it's like, oh, if I don't like the season, I won't have paid money for like the following seasons.
Right. That's probably why I did it. But also I was like, this will last me a while. And then I just do nothing but sit on my floor in my living room and be like,
you invented binge watching.
Yeah. I invented binge watching. Exactly. That's how old folk used to binge watch.
But it's like any CW show gets bad in or after the 3rd season. Mm-hmm. It's just like I have yet to okay, I know some people loved like Supernatural all the way through the end, but
never seen any of it. But
I liked the first 2 seasons, and then the 3rd I was like still watching, and then after that I was kind of like, take it or leave it, and I left it. But like, because they just made it into something where I was like, I didn't need it to be like this. But like Reign 3rd season. I mean, they also had something like super triggering for me, but like also it just like became ridiculous, which was saying a lot. And then like Vampire Diaries after the 3rd season, like it just got really repetitive. And then, wasn't watching Gossip Girl, but like Pretty Little Liars just got stale like after the 2nd season for me.
Well, I feel like that's kind of how the OC, like, I feel like, okay, for the OC, for me, the 1st season was great. The 2nd season was like 50-50. The 3rd season was great. And then the 4th season was like, okay, this shit needs to end at the end of the 3rd season, or they need to do something. And I think how they ended the series by having a 4th season in the future and then like dealing with the backlash of, what's her face leaving the show. I think that was great because if they had just done a 4th season with her alive, it would have been trash because she was the worst part of the show, and her death was perfect. So,
but like Riverdale 1st season really good, 2nd season trash fire, and then supposedly it just keeps getting worse. So I didn't do that. But then Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, which is technically on Netflix, but it's by the same showrunner who does Riverdale on the CW, and they, spoiler kind of, there were ads everywhere this year. They had a crossover because this person is doing like the run of the comics, and in the original Archie comics, like every Halloween Sabrina would come over because Riverdale and Greendale are like neighboring towns. So like that is canon. But so like even though Chilling Adventures of Sabrina was done on Netflix, it still ran into the CW problem of like it got bad after the 2nd season. But also they were clearly setting things up in the 2nd season and in the 3rd season, and then like they got canceled. So you can tell that they just rushed the end of the 3rd season, and you're just like, ugh. It's like it could have been so good.
So this wasn't like a teen CW show, but one of my favorite shows is Justified. I can't remember what network it was on. That show is so good. But one of the things that I loved is like I could watch that show forever. But they specifically ended it, I want to say the 5th season. What was that?
TBS. I was saying TBS or TNT or something
like that. Or FX. It was one of those.
Alex,
I have to look it up.
Justified. What did it air on? He loved the show.
Oh, it's so good. But like, I
You can't
loved
remember.
everything about it. I could watch that show forever, but like, it would have gone downhill. And that's what they said is this show, if we don't stop it now, we want to end it at a high note because we don't want to be one of those shows that
FX?
is here and then starts going down. So they're like, we're going to end it now while we're up here. And you're just like, you, I want my show. But then
Yep.
you're also like, I understand, but also
like, I'd
F you, I
rather
want my
that.
show.
Because
Like-
even like Shadowhunters, which the casting minus Valentine in the movie I think was better, but the direction in the movie City of Bones was shit. But you had like a good first 2 seasons of like Shadowhunters, and then it kept going. And I was like, oh no. And then they like gave you like a 2-part finale. And I was like, see, you could end on a high note. But if you had ended a season earlier, you wouldn't have had this problem.
Yeah.
But I think they were
they-
trying to like do all the books, and obviously they got like cut off too soon. So it was just like,
Not to go political, but all these shows that kind of ended meh and everything had a lot of falling flat, at least in a final season. What was the demographic of their writing room? Not to do that person.
I mean,
but
the answer of what most writing rooms are, unless you're in Shondaland.
I know. Well, which if it's a Shondaland, I'm like, all right, let's go. I don't need to know anything
right?
about it. Like,
my
I've
God.
seen enough.
I wanted to watch For the People, which is what Reggae Jean Page was in before Bridgerton, and I never got around to it because I never like saw it anywhere because I don't
Yeah.
like I stopped watching normal TV like maybe
Okay.
3
So for
5 years
Shondaland
ago.
people.
But it's like I want to watch that because well, I never want to be a lawyer. I grew up around a bunch of lawyers, and like that looked good, and it also had the actress who played Cassie in The Secret Circle very briefly on like, and then she was also in Life Unexpected, which was also on the CW. That was okay. It got shut down like really fast, and I was like, okay, well, it couldn't get bad, so I guess that's good. So like she was in it, and the premise just looked really good, and now everyone's like, oh, Reggae Jean Page is in it. I was like, that's not gonna make me watch it, but I already wanted to watch it, so now I feel like I need to, but I haven't gotten around to it. And also, I will not bite my tongue. It got stale. I'm saying it with my full chest, as Kelly Wright would say. She's like, say it with your full chest.
So, okay, talking about Shondaland, have any of you guys seen Station 19? Like,
no.
I love that
No,
show. Oh my
I've
God,
heard
I
about
love that
it.
show. I love it so much. I love it even more than Grace. Okay. And I would, so there's this one character, her name's Victoria, but they call her Vic. She's a firefighter. I would die for her. Okay. Like if she was a real person and there was like a bullet, like I would die. I would be like, I have a will. I know who my kids will go to. I will stand in front of this bullet for you, Vic. Like I will die for you. You run into burning buildings. I do not. So like, we need you more than me.
Yeah.
I love her so much. And I hate everybody. Like, I hate the main chick. Like, the main chick in that show just, like, sometimes she's okay. But, like, okay. So, for those who know what I'm talking about, what they are doing right now with the main person and then the dude, oh, my God, I just want to freaking, I hate it all. I hate every single bit of it because what they did in season 2 made my heart sore. Yes, but, yeah, you understand. Like, all the things that they keep doing to her. She's the greatest. I would die for her. Okay, that was my rant. I'm done.
So with Vic, out of curiosity, okay, it sounds like she has a lot of bad things happen to her, but
Oh my God, so
is she
many.
also flawed too?
Oh, very much.
Oh, okay. Because like I feel like I gotta watch just for this. I need to watch more flawed characters that people just fall in love with.
Oh yeah. She's great. She's definitely flawed for sure. I mean, and that's what I like about the show too, is it's a bunch of like, they're firefighters and they go into burning buildings. And so they're heroes, but they're also like, some of them are, so they all have kind of like egos, you know what I mean? See, I'm not a big Andy fan. Like, I like Andy. I'm reading the comments that are coming in. So
I am too. Like I'm reading them. I know nothing.
So
know
Andy
nothing
is the
about
main
what they mean,
character.
but I
So
do
she's
see
kind
them.
of like, if you've watched Grey's Anatomy, like Andy is supposed to be the Meredith Grey of Station 19. But she she has this like attitude that I just don't like. She's super flawed too. She does some things that I like, some things that I don't. I go kind of back and forth with her on whether or not I like her.
Every Shonda Rhimes, Shonda Land character is flawed though, which is why we like
and that's why we love
Yeah.
them. Yeah. We absolutely love them. Yeah.
Except maybe Lady Danbury. Like she
Oh
has
no, she's
flaws.
fabulous. Like she's perfect. Like even like
I
she
sharpened my
doesn't
wit and
make
my wardrobe.
mistakes. It's people react differently around her. That's my thought. What is this? I'm so,
Oh, I think I'm getting sleepy.
we're all endangered. Yeah, it's getting.
Yeah, I think we should call it because
Okay.
We could go
stopped
down this
working
rabbit hole.
38 minutes ago.
I know. Okay, I will say though, I do love Maya. I actually did not love Maya in the beginning, but then after I love, like they kind of, the arc that they did with Maya is amazing, and Maya and Karina are like the greatest, and I love them so much. Okay, I'm done.
And my
I
last
know,
thing.
I know
think
we're
Shonda
wrapping up,
Land. Yeah.
but the character Maya in Pretty Little Liars, the actress who played her, then went on or had been already in the Vampire Diaries playing Bonnie's ancestor. And I was like watching and I was like, oh, I know you.
I think
Like I have really good face recognition when it comes to actors, and it'll be like
But
someone in a
horrible
minor
names?
character, and I'll be like, oh, I know them. And my mom was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, they were in something I've seen, and then I'll like look them up on IMDb, and they're like in something, and I'm like, boom, and my mom's like, how'd you know? And I was like, because
I watch a lot
I
of
knew their
stuff.
face.
I have this weird thing where like the big main celebrity movie star people, I don't know who the hell anybody is and I don't know their name. But if I'm watching something and I see a face, I'm like, oh, he was in this one episode of this one show that I watched 12 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
but like,
I won't always remember
like,
what the person is in, but I'll be like, I've seen your face before, which means if I go to the IMDb of the thing I'm watching and I find your character name, then I can find out what you were in before. But like, I understand, but like Meryl Streep, Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Hiddleston, like if it's a name that I know, I'm someone who can't be like, oh, it's a character. It's like when I'm watching something, it's like this actor is playing this character. Now, granted, they may be like kicking it out of the, like hitting it out of the park or whatever the expression is, because I'm too tired and I don't do sports. But like, if it's someone who I don't know, but I know I've seen in something else, I'm able to be more immersed in them playing the character. And then after the fact, be like, okay, but like, who are you? Because I know I've seen you as something else too.
I think the latest Shonda Land stuff I saw was either Inventing Anna on Netflix or The Dropout, because I was watching them at the same time. Because I'm a sucker for true stories, and I'm a sucker for books made into movies or shows. But one of those was really good.
I
Well,
watch
actually, both were.
so much true crime. Like that's like probably 80% of what I watch is just true crime on YouTube. And then most of what I read is thrillers, or I watch stuff that's like super cheesy romance and love. And then I realize the only things that apparently really grasp my attention, either in fiction, like books, or just on like TV, is love and murder. So I don't know what that says about my
It's
brain.
the flip side of the,
Yeah.
you know, love and hate, except when hate turns
I either
deadly.
want making out or stabbing 50 times.
Not
Like,
sure if you ever saw it, but Dirty John, well, it was a podcast called Dirty John, and then it
Right,
became
and then they
a
made it
Bubba
into
show.
a
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the show, but I watched like a 1 hour YouTube video about all the things. Yeah.
I listened to the podcast, like I binged it. I would be getting ready in the mornings for work and have it.
Have you listened to Dr. Death?
No.
It's a podcast. I told my mom about it and she like became obsessed because obviously true crime or whatever, but it's anyway, we should
Okay,
say
wrap up.
night.
We'll end.
And
I feel like we always talk about true crime.
That's because it's all I watch.
true crime, you got to know your audience. You can't just talk about that with anyone, okay?
I know, no, like I'm always happy to talk about it, but I can't like watch it myself. Also, my mom loved The Dropout, but she could like not get into Inventing Anna. But what's really funny is that apparently in Inventing Anna, she name drops this guy named Andre. And my cousin knows the real Andre.
Oh.
Who's like, they didn't change his name.
Yeah.
And he was like, she tried to involve him and he was like, no. So like the fact that she was going around name dropping him is like funny to us who know him. And so when we're watching it, we're like, haha.
I think it was well done. I also like the fact that the main character in Inventing Anna is actually technically not Anna, it's the journalist. And sorry, this is the last tangent, I promise. But it's if anybody remembers Veda from My Girl and My Girl 2, it's her.
Yeah, I had to look it up because I was like, that is. And then someone was like, no, it's not. I was like, no, that is.
No, she's still got the face. Like
she is.
And the smile and stuff. And then I love the banter. Her character, Vivian, I think is her name in the show. But Vivian and her husband, their banter just reminds me so much of my marriage.
I've only seen the first episode because I watched it with my boyfriend but like he lives in another state. So like we spent half the time just trying to like sync up when we would press play. Like, and then it was like, oh, you're ahead of me.
Get Teleparty.
We
an extension through Chrome.
We tried that, but like we couldn't figure it out. But I think it's because we were also watching it on our TV. Either way, here's the thing. I think I'm old. My boyfriend's 10 years older than me. So like as good as I am with technology, he like doesn't like homeboy's 46. Like he's not gonna understand. Yeah. So
well, something's there, trust me.
There was something I saw
technology
on
isn't
Twitter,
everything.
though, where some woman who is like a teacher, like their student who like I'm assuming was younger than high school, like I think middle grade, but it could have been as old as a high schooler, who had said that like, oh, people older than 30 aren't on the internet. And it was like,
fuck that. Oh, excuse me.
And like the person tweeting was like, I felt my soul leave my body when my student said this.
Yeah.
Like,
So
I'm not even 30, but that is hilarious.
Another old moment. My husband worked at a golf course like 8 years ago or something. And one of the carts, when you would turn it to reverse or somewhere, when you would turn it, it sounded like dial-up. Like that type thing. It was dial-up. And he was laughing, and the 18-year-old kid that was with them was like, what's so funny? He's like, what does that sound like to you? He goes, like it's not working right? He's like, no, it's working fine. But does it sound like something else? He's like, no, I don't know. And he's like, dial up. He's like, what's that? Oh my God. And you got to wonder, is it a generational thing at that point? Or is it a, just wasn't exposed to it situation, like I that think particular
wasn't
person
exposed to it because I'm technically no longer the youngest generation because there are Generation Alpha in my family, but like I'm the youngest self-sufficient generation in my family, and because the people closest to me in age were millennials, and then Gen X, and then boomers, and then my grandma who was the great generation. It's like I was exposed to a lot, so like I understand the meme where it's like, here's a tape and here's a pencil, what's the relation between these two items? Or it's like when people are like, how do you use a rotary phone? And I'm like, is it really like,
it's not hard.
How is that hard? Like people, I don't remember what I was listening to, but people were talking about like, oh yeah, like young people aren't going to know how to use a rotary phone. And I'm like, you show them once and actually they're probably going to pick it up a lot faster because they're so used to much more complicated.
Oh my God, the three-way code.
Oh yes.
Oh my God.
And one person would be silent and you're on the, like Mean Girls. I'm glad they did it in Mean Girls because otherwise I think a lot of people would not have a clue what that was.
Boo you.
By the way, okay. Let me just say, I remember one time I'm like, talking shit because I'm so old. I'm like talking about how annoying like some of these like millennials are, right? Because I didn't realize I was a millennial, right? And I can't remember who it was like, you are a millennial, right? I'm like, no, I'm not. And I had to look it up. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, no, it
I'm
sucks.
like, I'm an old ass millennial, but
I'm the
technically
first
I
year
am.
of Gen Z. So when people talk, when millennials talk, when boomers talk shit about millennials, I'm like, your millennial children raised me because they were my siblings. Second of all, when millennials shit talk Gen Z, I'm like, excuse you. And then when like anyone in my family, millennials or boomers, are like, oh my God, Gen Alpha, like they're gonna, change the world. And I'm like, that's great, but you're also raising them to be way too sheltered. So not in our family. Whereas I'm the one who like went off to school and I'm like challenging all these things where it's like, yes, I can recognize that I'm privileged and I grew up in an all white family, but also like I'm not white. So therefore, please acknowledge the struggles that I'm going through during this very difficult time. And like that were invisible to you for a very long time because I like didn't let you know that it was bothering me for like the shit I went through at school. But like, if I say that, like, hey, I'm nervous that ICE is going to deport me because I don't look a certain way, like, please validate that and don't be like, oh, you don't have to be worried because you're legally a citizen. It's like, they don't care.
No. It makes me think in the morning show season 2, because they actually
God, I love the morning
bring
show.
up the thing going on. There's an Asian actress on there, and she was actually they depicted her character being accosted by another person going, hey, go back. I don't want your germs or something like that. Like just being completely like.
That was awful.
It was awful to see, but I was like, I'm so glad they depicted that.
Yeah.
Which show?
The morning show, which by the way, that show is amazing and everybody needs to watch it.
Okay.
It's got Reese
I have
Witherspoon,
heard it's
Jennifer
amazing.
Aniston.
I haven't watched it, but yeah.
But no, it's trigger warning, sweetie.
Oh, so many trigger warnings.
Yeah,
so
wait,
many
like
trigger
you
warnings.
Okay, then maybe I'll hold off on talking.
Yeah.
It is so good though. Like I thought it was a comedy. Okay, I thought it was a fun, and then I watched the first episode. I'm like, this is not a comedy. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's funny
dark
moments.
Comedy.
Yeah, dark comedy. We can go with that.
I wouldn't even call it a dark comedy. I would call it a gritty drama with some funny moments.
There you go.
Yeah, like that's probably what I would say.
Apple TV.
Yeah, if I when people are like, oh, it's dark comedy, I'm like, you mean it's like dark and has humor instead of like it's dark humor? Because we, like all of us on screen, live in dark humor. Like that's our default.
That's my
brain. When I
brain.
watch something that's dark and has humor, I'm like, that is different. The same way that there's a difference between women's fiction and romance fiction. It's like there can be overlap.
Completely.
But it's like different.
Yeah. So,
okay. I think
this
I'm
was
gonna fall asleep on my screen. So if my head just goes crash.
Yes. Okay.
All right. This was our 12-minute goodbye.
I'm going to say thank you to both of you for being here. Amar was here the whole time. Kudos to you.
That's like the first time ever.
See you after a very long hiatus. And both of these lovely ladies who are AuthorTubers, moms, writers, because that earns them the name AuthorTuber. I will link their stuff down below once we get off. I will also link Chandra, and you should subscribe to both of them. And Chandra. And Amara doesn't have a Ko-fi page.
I'm working on it though.
Okay, I was about to say, how can you?
No, she is. We've talked about it behind the scenes. She doesn't have it yet, so I can't link it.
I was like this close to being done with finalizing everything, and then my life was just like, I'm gonna blow up. And,
relatable.
Yeah, but now I'm back at starting to figure out.
You're back at it.
I'm back at it. So I'm hoping to get it up in the next month or two.
Yeah.
Realistic expectations.
My kids are no longer going to be homeschooled. I'm putting them in school on Thursday. So now I have so many. Their first day of school is on Thursday. I'm going to cry, but then I'm going to walk in because I'm also on a leave of absence from work. So I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do all day long? So my goal is to be really productive.
You're going to write.
Or sleep. I'm going to write. I'm going to work on doing my Ko-fi page. I'm going to do all the things. or I'm going to lay right here and sleep all day. One of the two will be happening.
I mean, or you could
I'm
just
excited
spin a
for you.
wheel and like alternate every hour. And that way you get all of it.
So everybody make sure you're following on Instagram and such to get the notifications, ring the bell, subscribe, all that.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.